Hi guys, I'm Omar Haque. I'm the VP and GM of Omnichannel at Bimbo Bakeries USA. We are part of Grupo Bimbo, the largest baking goods company in the world. I handle all things omnichannel, which includes shopper marketing and online e-commerce. And happy to be here at the CPG Guys.
Welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. Your hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the CPG Guys. I'm of course Sri, co-founder, co-host of the CPG Guys and co-founder and partner of Think Blue, your key to unlocking your profitability potential. As builders, connectors, and amplifiers, we shape the future of commerce to drive your growth. Please do listen to my older daughter Ria Raj's music at www.riaraj.com. That's RHEARAJ. And my younger daughter Lara Raj is a member of the Geffen Records Universal Music Group, Cat's Eye. They've just completed their tour on the Jingle Ball circuit and we're headed to Tokyo for the Apple Music Awards. The hit single Touch is now past 200 million plus plays on Spotify. And not joining me today is my fellow co-founder Peter V.S. Bond, and he's not co-hosting this podcast. He serves as head of client engagement at Flywheel, the e-com acceleration division of Omnicom. Before we get to our guest, we want to ask you to consider following us in your preferred podcast listening app if you already don't do so. This ensures you automatically receive new episodes as they're released. And while you're at it, follow our sister podcast, the FMCG Guys, and of course, the CPG Scoop. Announcing the first retail media executive education program in our industry. From May 5 to 8, 2025 at Cornell Tech, the CPG Guys are strategic partners with Cornell University for this immersive 4-day program that brings together industry thought leaders, renowned faculty to share best practices for building compelling retail media platforms. You'll discover how to collaborate in creating best-in-class tech stacks, measure performance to ensure brand access the necessary KPIs based on campaign objectives, and establish strong partnerships between brands and retailers. In addition, the program covers optimizing brand strategies using AI-driven campaign design at scale to achieve marketing goals. Links to our podcast, our sister cast, social media profiles, and my daughters Ria and Lara. For more information on the Cornell Retail Media Program, you can simply refer over to the digital liner notes of this episode. And now, let's go over to the main event. On this episode, our guest is none other than Omar Haque, a second-time repeat guest on the CPG Guys. He's, of course, VP and GM for Omnichannel at none other than one of the most important, I would say, flour-based baking companies in the world. That's none other than Bimbo Bakeries USA. He was on the show September 2020. If I roll back, perhaps episode 20 or so, I can't explain why we waited 4 years, but he is back. Too long here on the CPG Guys to wait for you, Omar, and we're glad that you actually agreed to do this during the holiday season. So I'm deeply appreciative you're making time one day before the holiday season literally kicks off. Omar has 2 decades plus increasing responsibility in e-commerce and digital. A deep expert is what I would say he is, and I've often personally bounced ideas, learned from him, gotten coaching from him on how to proceed. You know, we've shared hires together, and he leads e-commerce at Accelerata, which is a newly created standalone business unit of Bimbo Bakeries, Grupo Bimbo, and life has actually evolved for him, and he's going to take us through all of that. But I want to reiterate, that's the world's largest baking goods company with iconic brands like Sara Lee, Thomas English Muffins, Entenmann's, and Ballpark, which is dedicated to breakthrough product and process innovation in e-commerce. Before Bimbo, Omar headed the global e-com function at none other than the iconic Colgate Palmolive. At Colgate, Omar started the e-commerce business and was responsible for Colgate's e-com strategy and execution in all markets Colgate operates in across all product categories. Omar is a BS from Syracuse University and an MBA from none other than Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, and is a general management alumni of Stanford Graduate School of Business. Omar, welcome back, man. 4 years too long.
No, thank you, Sri, and thank you for the great introduction. Yes, I didn't realize it was been 4 years, but definitely too long. I know we've obviously met and talked multiple times, but not in CPG Guys. But I promise you the next time around, it will be less than 4 years.
6 months, Omar.
Done.
I won't ask you to commit, but you know I'll be tracking you down less than 6 months.
Absolutely.
And Omar, before we get started with our Q&A segment here, I mentioned Accelerata, I mentioned Bimbo Bakeries USA. Tell us the difference and how your role has evolved in the last couple of years?
Sure, no, absolutely. Great question. So, when I first joined BBU, Bimbo Bakeries USA, by the way, Bimbo Bakeries is a wholly owned subsidiary of Grupo Bimbo in Mexico, the largest baking goods company in the world. And we're also the top 10 largest food companies in the world. We are around $23 billion in net sales and 35 countries, which are growing. When I joined 7.5 years ago, we were in 17 countries. So again, we've doubled our our country penetration, I should say. Yeah, and when I joined 7.5 years ago, we had recently formed the business group Accelerata, which was all things disruption, and I was leading channel disruption. In the last 2 years, we realized, hey, listen, e-commerce has become big enough, in all the different functions of Accelerata, including supply chain disruption, actual new product innovation had grown big enough. So we put it back in the core. And when we did that 2 years ago, Shri, we also combined the shopper function and the e-commerce function, because we said, hey, listen, the shopper is the shopper. The shopper shops online, shops in store. And as you know, many of us are shoppers, all of us are shoppers, and we do the same thing. So let's focus on the shopper and create a business function called Omnichannel. So this is what happened, and we've primarily, my group is focused on that, and we've evolved. We focus on the shopper. We basically, I would say, sit between sales and marketing. So, and solely dedicated to focusing on the shopper and making frictionless experiences for the shopper, converting the shopper. So it's all about the shoppers here.
Omar, I want to first congratulate you on all the success. I want to congratulate you, the company, your peers on all the success. You said double footprint. In terms of the number of countries you're at, that is no easy feat, especially given majority of that work was during supply chain challenges and inflationary period. Well done to all of you. So if you're game, let's jump right into it. And obviously the tip of the spear question, that it's not just me asking you this on the CPG guys, our audience wants to hear from you. 2024. Let's put e-commerce in context. Let's not look at the whole big, I don't want to go into the, hey, we've got a volume challenge. Really, e-com, omnichannel. How did 2024 go? And then where is e-commerce at the end of the year? And what has taken your time in 2024?
Sure. Yeah. So, for e-commerce and Omni, it was a great year, right? We made our numbers. We had a plan which was aggressive. We were able to, as things stand right now, the year is not over yet. It will be in a few weeks, but we are on or above plan. Obviously it's not the COVID level growth. COVID, we saw phenomenal, like most CPGs, especially food CPGs, saw phenomenal online growth, but it's still, we are still above our plan. I would say the fastest growing modality has been click and collect for us. We are a category, all our categories are in the full basket model. So, and that's been where the growth is coming from. As far as, 2024, we tried to hone in on, like I said, focus on the shopper. A lot of new learnings for us. There were some growing pains. How do we structure the team? How do we look at it internally? How do we work with the different functions within Bimbo Bakeries? So those were some of the growing pains. But overall, we've done well. I'm happy. I'm happy with the team. And we're ready for exciting and challenging 2025.
So Omar, first of all, again, I'll say congratulations. Not a lot in CPG land today can walk around and say we've hit our plan, right? No easy feat again. But I still want to go back to where your time has gone in 2024. You mentioned click and collect is still on a tear, right? Is that where you spend a majority of your time in 2024? And that's where you'll be going forward? And is it blocking and tackling? Is it more strategic? Is it basket building behaviors? Like, where does your time go?
Yeah, so it's, as we started the group recently, one of the things was we had a lot of priorities. A lot of things were going on within the company. We said, okay, listen, if we try to boil the ocean, nothing is going to get done. So we said, okay, let's prioritize where we want to work with. Not everyone has the right to win. Not all our internal brands have the right to win as well. So we have a pretty tiered structure. We had outside consultants help us as well. So we said, okay, let's focus on these brands, which are growing brands. And then somewhere we need to have the lights on. And then somewhere, let's listen, they are good brands, but it's not the primary focus. So first we had, we had that. And then we said, okay, let's look at our customers, our retailers. How do we grow with them? How do we partner with them? And that was a lot of, shiny toys were being thrown. Hey, listen, everyone has a retail media network now. So we were trying to focus on what makes sense. So primarily it was strategic, some blocking and tackling, but overall it was more strategic in how we can grow.
You mentioned retail media. It seems that no conversation with a retail or CPG leader today can pass by without a conversation on retail media. Give us your opinion, Omar. What are you learning through the numbers? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Has it kind of peaked out, growing at a flat pace? You've had to obviously handle this on a daily basis, right? But now it's a phenomenon. So how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, so overall it is growing, but where and how it's growing is different, right? First of all, every retailer, and I mean this in the most uh, respectful way. Every retailer in the neighbor has a retail media network, RMN, right? But retailers also need to understand that we don't have limitless budgets, right? So we have to look at each of the retail media networks strategically, where we see the most growth, where we need to be fair as well, right? So we are looking at it from that lens. And not all RMNs, retail media networks, have the right to win. So we need to really prioritize that. Then, apart from that, we have to look at our total investment level per customer. We are spending on trade, we are spending on traditional media, and now retail media. So we have to look at our total investment and see what makes sense. And some of our retail partners understand that. Most of them understand that, but some don't. So we have to remind them, listen, we're investing this much. We are a DSD business. Primarily, we are a DSD business. So that's more investment, right? We are the ones merchandising the shelves. We're the ones taking the sales, and we're the ones supplying them. So we have to look at our total investment and see what makes sense with budgets, which we do answer to a higher authority on, how much budget we have. So we need to be careful on that as well. But overall, I would say, Shri, that retail media is the most growing, as far as any investment. But we just need to be careful in how we spend and if spend in the right way.
A couple of things around that, Omar. I mean, the consumer and your investors expect you to be judicious about it. So well done on that one. The one that kind of comes to my mind, I worry about is you mentioned, every other day there's a new one sprouting. Literally may not be every other day, but it's often enough there's a new one sprouting up, which means we're having a proliferation of inventory. How do you deal with this inventory challenge? Because all of a sudden you're going to have a ton of offsite, you're going to have a ton of onsite, and you're going to have everything in between. How do you guys even plan for this as shopper? You mentioned shopper marketing, right? Are you worried about inventory? And once a commitment is made, do RMNs actually have the inventory to fulfill their obligation?
Yeah, the great question. So the way we look at it is from internally. We start internally on what are the brand priorities and which brands have the right to win. But then we say, okay, let's look at our overall, create this tentpole calendar for the year. And around those tentpoles, first of all, we can't have too many tentpoles. We need to be very judicious in what the tentpoles are. And then we say, okay, listen, what are the activations around those tentpoles? And then, where there are synergies between brands, even synergies between our complementary CPGs, right, where we can work together. So during that, we form the tentpole calendar. Then we look at, okay, let's see where do we need to, what kind of activations we need to do, either online or in store. And within each of these different modalities, online and in store, there are different tactics we can use. So that's what we're doing, right? Obviously, search comes to mind. Search is a big one. Yes, we are investing in search, but that's not the only thing we're investing in, because we need to take a step back and look at the full funnel and see what makes sense.
Let's talk about that a little bit more, if you don't mind, right? Within retail media, you mentioned search. Is that primary, like in the industry, is that pretty much it? And then there's a 10% overhang everywhere else? Or is there truly diversity of inventory you have the ability to take advantage of?
Search is a big part of it, no doubt. And search gives us some of the best IROAS or ROAS based on conversion. No doubt about that. But it's not the only thing, right? Yeah, we do spend a substantial amount on search, but the way we've tiered our different customers is, search is like basic hygiene. You need to do that, right? People need to find your product. If they don't find your product, they are, as the saying goes, the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of search results. So we have to be there. But then that's not the only thing, because we are looking at it holistically from an omni perspective. So we need to see, okay, what is the goal of the brand? Is it about loyalty? Is it about trying to stop the leaky bucket? based on all of those different things we're trying to do, how we're focusing on the shopper, we decide on where it makes sense. Sometimes we have to ignore we have to say, okay, if the ROAS is not as much, that's fine, right? That's fine. If we're trying to build share, if we're trying to take share, that's fine. We have to deprioritize some of the ROAS. So again, it's a case by case basis based on the brand priority and how we want to grow, and by our retailers, the retail RMNs of those retailers, what they have to offer.
And so, as a team that you also have shopper marketing under you, are you all optimizing your inventory, optimizing your spend on retail media by all these little pieces of inventory? And then how are you connecting it back to the mothership of advertising when it comes to optimization? Are you all in the mix yet?
Yes, great. So we use like any mature CPG industry, we use Triple MMM, marketing mix modeling. We use that, but that's not the only lens we use, and I'll tell you why. Right? I have a sort of a hate-love relationship with MMM. MMM is great, but when MMMs were created, this was pre-retail media, and so they do. Unfortunately, I think they do penalize some of the retail media newer tactics, including search, but they're great for some of the traditional media tactics, right? So we look at MMM. That's definitely our North Star, a guiding principle. But then we look at, okay, what kind of information we're getting from the retailers. And then we do our own analysis internally. We have I have an analytics team under me. We take a look at that. We look at, okay, where do we need to give certain haircuts? What makes sense? So we look at it, all of these three things: MMM, retailer provided data, and our own analysis. And based on that, we prioritize on certain things. And again, it's by customer, by when I say customer, by retailer, where it makes sense. And frankly, some RMNs are just about search, right? So we'll invest in search, but some provide more data to us. Listen, you lean in to us, you provide the data, and we'll be able to execute better. So it's all the different things and different varieties we use in order to prioritize and where we need to invest.
Are you finding that retail overall, I'm not asking for names here, but are you finding that retail overall is collaborative when it comes to the data sets? And then what metrics are you personally prioritizing while asking questions if the spend was accurate or worthwhile for you?
Everyone is different. I mean, we pay for a lot of data also. As you know, nothing is free in this space. So we partner pay a lot of data, both from a retailer's perspective and also external data. For me, as someone who owns the shopper, we need to figure out, what are the different shopper cohorts? What are they looking for? How do we increase their basket size? How do we create a frictionless experience for them? Be it, if the shopper, if she's looking for tonight's dinner, how is she going to get that? What are the different things? How do we convert her? Right. So it's a lot of basket building data, basket building analysis. Honestly, I think we could do better. I always challenge my team. Hey, listen, let's figure out how do we do better. We're getting a ton of data. Are we using it to the best of our skill set and abilities? So a lot of different things going on. Some of the things we're really good at, and some things we do have a lot of room for improvement.
And so, Omar, in that spirit of, there are opportunities for improvement, opportunities to get better at, looking at metrics, optimizing where you're putting the dollars on retail media, building plans for Grupo Bimbo, right? The big question I'd ask you is, how are you looking at omnichannel holistically? How do you tie back into the holistic omnichannel ecosystem? Because today, the consumer, whether we want to accept it or not, is 100% digitally influenced. I don't want to say stupid things like it's 80% and 92%. It's 100%. We are at this point attached to our smart devices. That's how humans lead their lives at this point. In that sort of a world, have you started thinking about building retail JBP plans exclusively for e-commerce?
Yes. So, no, excellent question. So, some of our actually more mature retailers are coming to us. They're like, okay, let's build a JBP plan. Online is 15%, 20% or more part of our business. And we want you to be, if you're not there already, and for most of our customers, our goal is to grow faster than what our category is growing, right? Because that's the way you take share. If you grow faster than the category. And we are doing this where we see, and also we have, I would say, 4 different categories, right? One is breakfast, which includes Thomas's English muffins and bagels, the iconic brand there. Then we have sweet baked goods, including Entenmann's Marinella. Then we have bread buns and rolls, including Ballpark, Arnold, Sara Lee bread, and so on. And then we also have salty snacks, which is a sister company called Barcel, but we're the maker of Takis. If you have teenagers, I have teenagers, and they love that. Everyone knows that. So we look at each of these differently, and the way we look at it holistically is, hey, listen, let's build plans around that. Let's make sure that we are growing at the rate that we want to grow and above what the retailers are asking. And based on that, we create, JBP plans. We look at the brand priorities and create activation calendar around that. So yes, so we are looking, our retailers are asking, and that's where we are really leaning in.
That is fabulous to hear that y'all have already kind of moved to the world of building e-commerce exclusive planning cycles and JBP plans. Right? My curiosity question I would love to learn is, how does that plug into the overall picture of the plans? Because earlier you mentioned, it's important to look at the full investment at the retailer, like total, let's say in the world you and I come from, which is brands total customer investment, with retailers being the customer. So how do you plug into the overall JBP if you're doing a separate e-com JBP, which is long overdue in the industry, given that it's, 15, 20% of the business, it's important with a very different skill base. But how do you plug into the big JBP?
So while we plan on a micro level, but it is part of a bigger plan, right? So we don't want to plan in isolation. So it is a big part of a bigger plan. Of course, our investment levels are going to whatever our top line investment levels by customer. So it's very much integrated with each of the bigger plans, because our goals are, our goals are overall customer level goals, right? And my team, we have a shadow P&L, which is basically overall the customer level P&L. So it is integrated. The discussions and the tactics might be separate, but it does roll up into automatically based on how the retailers their teams are structured as well.
Would you mind explaining so that our audience can understand, Omar, how does a shadow P&L work, and is it primarily to create accountability for you and your teams and your groups?
That's a great question. And, if any CPG brand is coming into the mix right now, I would say, having a commercial angle, which means having a P&L, be it a shadow P&L, is a must, right? Otherwise, you'll always be considered a cost center, and again, trying to justify your existence. So again, I want my team accountable. We have a top line number where I have each of my account leads accountable on what they have to deliver. And the shadow P&L works, and why it works is, and why it's important is, for example, if we have, XYZ customer, let's take Walmart or Kroger, right? We have our national account customers there. And if I'm investing, if I'm have a total separate P&L, then they'll be like, hey, why are you taking our P&L away? Because this is the fastest growing, modality. X percentage is growing. Why do I have to give that? So I'm like, no, you take credit for that as well. But I'll take credit for that as well, because I am investing. The retail media, strategy investments coming from me. I'll take credit. That's why I'll have the shadow P&L, but you take credit as well. And I think that removes any unnecessary friction or politics within companies. Bimbo Bakeries, we've done a great job of that from day one. We have that understanding, and day one we've had my team, while some of my account leads, like Kroger account lead and Walmart account leads, and Albertsons and all the big customers. They report directly into me, but they do sit with their local team. They do sit in Bentonville, they sit in Cincinnati. So they do sit with them, right? So, and they're very much part of their team, but still they have a solid direct line towards me, so we can have the same strategy, same plan, and they're executing as looking at holistically for each of the accounts.
And so, Omar, hearing that, I'm tempted to ask, how often are you out therefore at retail? Is it often, once a quarter? Are you focused primarily as a leader on the largest businesses, given that it's a fifth of business at this point? So how often are you out at retail?
So, how often I physically am there? So, if I have I rely on my team, right? I have very strong account executives, which I'm happy and blessed to have. So they're the ones sitting there every day, right? They're working with the teams. I go to, executive level meetings. My team my team does punch above their weight class. It's not a huge team. As you know, we work with every customer in the US. So we help in different ways. Sometimes we have playbooks. We give playbooks to the teams where they're this is the way you structure it. This is what you need to do. And then when in any executive level, top to top, I would be there. So the big guys, I would say quarterly or even biannually, I would be there. But then I'm also all in the big meetings for FMI midwinter coming up in January next year, where I know you and I have met many times when you used to represent, your former employer. So, I'll be there in those meetings. I'm there in many calls where we are trying to educate some of the RMNs as well. So again, as my team sits in between, have one foot in sales and one foot in marketing. We need to connect with the RMNs as well as the retailer, the merchants also, right? So I think it's a privileged position to be where I sit, so we can get everything together. We are looking at both sides of the equation, so to speak. And so I'm there when it needed, but I have a team which is there always.
Good to hear, Omar. So let me remind the public that I'm speaking to Omar Haque, VP and GM of Omnichannel at Bimbo Bakeries. So one of the questions I've always wanted to ask, in the physical retail world, it's often easier to accomplish objectives because you can stand in front of a retail shelf. There's something called a planogram, which is very structured, limited shelf space, kind of much easier to work with. How do you address those aspects for an online world where you can't stand in front of a physical shelf? You already mentioned a very interesting terminology earlier that second page of search is where the dead bodies lie. So you obviously never want to be on that second page of search unless that's the death of the brand, right? So how do you live in this crazy world of digital? What do you emphasize in a world where you can't have physicality?
As once we morphed into the omnichannel team, so the physical shelf is important for us, as important, if not more important than the online shelf, right? But we know that shoppers, search for stuff online before even going to the store. And they look, what's in there, sometimes add stuff in their cart and they'll pick up in store and maybe go inside the store to look. Also, part of the shopper marketing function, the strategy of the secondary displays is something that my team creates a strategy and then our frontline executes that, right? Our sales operations executes that. So that's important for us as well. So we, in the early days, we used to look at many shelf website scraping tools to see what our share of shelf is. We still do that. We have vendors we are looking into who are helping us platforms in search. We have that. For example, we use Nimble Ads for our AI search platform. But then again, the physical shelf, we also try to see, okay, the experience for the shopper should not only be frictionless, but they should be able to see similar stuff when they go in store, right? And different challenges in both. For example, if you go to the breakfast aisle where our English muffins and bagels are, it's orange. Or Thomas's color is orange, right? But online, getting the same orange, the shelf facing is not as easy. So we need to make sure we're investing at the right level. So our bagels and English muffins are coming on top when someone is searching for them, right? So again, it's both are important. I would say majority of our business still gets done in store. As with every other CPG. So, but we are looking at both of them and trying to create that experience from a shopper perspective.
So, Omar, that a very experience to speak to from a shopper perspective. Any recommended tactics to drive click and collect and basket behavior?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I would say you need to look of what are you trying to solve for. If the shopper, if she is looking for the dinner for the night or snacks for kids, do you have the right portfolio? Do you have the right partnerships? With other CPGs, for example, are many of our bagels and bread buns go with something else, right? You need a spread, you need a protein. So again, partnering with them with eggs, we have a lot of partnerships like that. We had a partnership with Kraft Heinz with the cream cheese, Philly cream cheese, with Bob Evans. We had a partnership with their egg products. Again, so we need to look at all of that thing and create that experience, what she's looking for, to drive conversion, to drive basket building, right? We know, we have the data. We know that when someone adds one of our products in their basket, the basket size increases, right? Because they need other stuff in order for them to eat our products. So, we know that. So that's how we work with them. We work with our analytics team to figure out, how do we increase the basket size and what do we need to do? What kind of data we need? And in store, We need to have our secondary displays in the end caps in the right places, right? Maybe sometimes it has to be next to the refrigerated section because where the cream cheese and butter is, right? Sometimes we need it in the cookie aisle, right? Because we do have, Entenmann's cookies also. We just launched, 3 Entenmann's SKUs, 3 different flavors in the cookie aisle. So again, these are important things that we look and figure out how the shopper is shopping. And it's not only the perimeter of the store, it's also the aisles where we need to be.
Awesome, Omar. Thank you for that little bit of a class over here. I'm going to go to a subject which is for a DST company, probably a little picky one, which is pure play, especially in the fresh foods category, right? I've never made a connection between pure play, fresh foods, and DST fast moving ecosystems, right? Has grocery, what's your observation, made a dent yet with pure plays, or are we still in the world of let's try to figure it out, experimentation, test and learn?
So, the good question. What retail is purely pure play, no pun intended, right now, right? Even if you look at Amazon, where everyone thinks of Amazon, in the Amazon full basket model, we have Amazon Fresh, yes, which is online, but we have Amazon Fresh stores, which are growing. We have Whole Foods now, which is also integrated with Amazon Fresh. So, is there any real pure play even in Instacart, right? Instacart is I would say yes, it may be the front facing its pure play, but at the end they are an aggregator. They're picking it up from a last mile solver. They're picking it up from any of the physical stores, right? Again, is that a pure play? So I think it's there's a lot of dilution. What really is a pure play? And if there's anything purely a pure play, yes, maybe in the snacking world there might be some like GoPuff, Dash Mart, and but the quick commerce segment is growing fast, but they also pick up most of their products from the physical shelf, and then they have small mini micro warehouses. So I think the lines are blurring between if there is anything a pure play and between a pure play and a click and collect. But I think in a full basket model for us, it's primarily where the growth is coming from is from the click and collect model, right? And regardless, when I say click and collect, I mean pick up. It could be pick up in store, could be from the parking lot, or from they deliver to your home as well. So I would say, as for a full basket model, the click and collect one model is the one where we see the majority of our growth.
And then, Omar, this is more a perspective than numbers. On the click and collect model, is there a difference in the role between traditional retailers and intermediaries, or at this point they're all intermingled?
There is also a blurring of lines there, and the way. And when you say intermediaries, you mean like Instacart, yeah, and the way
Uber.
Exactly. The way their partnerships have evolved as well is they do based on different investment levels. We do ask for some retailer level data and to see what makes sense for us. They do provide a convenience, and I would say they provide a really good convenience because they're one of the fastest ones to deliver the products. So that is the convenience to the shopper. And if the shopper is looking for that meal in the next hour or so, that's their modality.
I gotta imagine, Omar, in the world you're in, that convenience and need for speed does exist.
It does exist. Absolutely. It does exist.
Immediate meal fulfillment.
Exactly. It does exist. And sometimes, especially in today's households where both the partners are working and they need to prepare a meal and they don't have time to think, 3 days in advance or even a day in advance. It's sometimes driving back from work. Yes, people are going back to work, driving back from work. I need something at my doorstep. So convenience matters. And that's why I think the last milers or the aggregators or intermediaries, whatever you want to call them, do have a place in this ecosystem.
No surprise there at all. So let's talk about, we'll get to AI later. So I'll ask you to hold off on AI for a second because no conversation can be complete without that buzzword. Or some come here and dispel the myth that I say that it's a buzzword, but we'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about product innovation and tech innovation as 2 separate paradigms. Have y'all been focused on product innovation exclusively for the omnichannel space that you can only get via omnichannel? And then what new tech capabilities, anything in the search world, content, etc., you're looking at, and I'll ask you about AI separately.
Yeah. So as far as purely product innovation, the taste of consumers is changing fast, right? As a big company, it's a challenge, right? Because we create products in the millions of products. We do not, we don't have products where we can launch like within 2 days, right? So, but every big company, including us, we have to be nimble. We're forced to be nimble by the shopper, right? So we are doing a lot of product innovation. We're looking at trends, future trends, looking at the data that we have, looking at shoppers, what they are buying. Something we do really well at being in 35 countries now. We do a lot of lift and shift. We see something is working in some other countries. Some of our best products have come that way. Sara Lee Artisanal Bread. I believe that was something which came from either Colombia or Argentina. I think it was Colombia. And we said, okay, this is a great product, thick slice. Let's bring it here in the US. And it has done phenomenally well for us in a very short span of time. That's our own, organic innovation. We spend, disproportionate being the biggest baking goods company. We own this space, really. We do spend on innovation. And, we are looking at a lot of different ways. The eating habits have changed. Healthy for you is big. Better for you is big. So we have, a team focused on that. Our retailers are asking that. Our consumers are looking for that. So, yeah, so, we are doing, all of that and spending a lot of time and investment in that. As far as technology, with news coming, when technology is coming, what I would say is, part of my title is e-com online. I get a call a lot of vendors, but all they talk about is direct to consumer. And as you know, direct to consumer is a very small, tiny portion of more of a test for us that we did, a few years back. But if you are able to sift through all of these, shiny toys and all these direct to consumer innovations, at the end of the day, I think where I'm most interested in is loyalty, where I retain the shopper. I make sure our shoppers, we don't lose the shopper, and reward our loyal shoppers. And then data. Data is big also, right? So now we are getting in the omnichannel world, we are getting a ton of data, but we need to have the capability and the right tools to sift through them in a timely manner. So what we can make sure that we are able to use that data to help the shopper to drive conversion. And that is a big thing, right? So again, I would say loyalty and data are the two biggest tech areas I'm looking at.
So loyalty and data. You briefly mentioned a test with D2C over there, right? I am a forever optimistic person on D2C. D2C does exist. It's very large scale, especially if you visit us in Southern California to come to Expo West, you have a big awakening. One has a big awakening on the role of D2C in the industry to incubate products. Did y'all ever actually play that out? Is it still a test? Can I still buy products on D2C, or was that purely a test for the purpose of learning how it's executed?
So both, I would say. So we did start a company called sweetsnacking.com, where we used to sell larger bundles of our products for snacking. We also have looked into B2B, where that makes sense, where we can increase our distribution. But sweet snacking, it was a good test for us. We do have certain legal areas of protection that because we use independent operators to service, so we do need to be careful of that. So we decided to sunset that. But for some of our brands in the salty snacks place in popcornopolis.com, you can buy it. It's a direct to consumer. It's a very good gifting item. It's year round, but also a lot of holiday shopping gets there. So I think that's something that we have. You can check out popcornopolis.com. And we always do discuss, right? I'm at the end, I have been in e-commerce for a long time. So in direct to consumer excites me, right? Because I'm getting real data. I know who my consumer is. I can try different things. I don't have to go through someone else. And the first party data is worth its weight in gold. So I still have dreams. Okay, when it'll be big, what can we try at some point? Maybe for innovation and so on, a partnership with other CPGs. I'm ready to partner, just to try. At the end, this will also help our retailers, honestly, right? Because we learn from there and we can apply that our retailers as well. But right now, it's something which is not primarily a main focus for me right now.
For me, Omar, the primary reason D2C has always remained in my mindset is the data, as you've already pointed out, can feed a pipeline of innovation for the company, period, right? Not just for omnichannel, right? So I'll go to the last question for today, which is, No conversation with a senior leader in the industry is complete without talking about artificial intelligence. So I'd love to know what trends are you following these days? Has AI made that list? And can you dispel for our audience, is AI a buzzword in our industry or is it real?
Yeah. So, even before we started calling AI, we've been using machine learning. We've been using that for the perfect order. Being a DSD shop, we own our own orders, how much to supply, how much to produce. We don't have inventory. It's a fresh product. But I think what you're referring to and the industry is referring to is Gen AI, generative AI, right? The large language models, LLMs. So in that, I don't think it's a buzzword. I think it is the right tool to make sure that we can find efficiencies in the system, right? Efficiencies in how we execute. Where I see the most opportunities is, and we are still in very early test and learn stages, is content. Content can be the way we do content, the way we can have different multivariate testing, different content in different retailer sites, what we can show. So I would say, I think it has a definite future in content. Second, I would say is shopper analytics, right? Again, we are getting a lot of data, and I was looking at a video from Satya Nadella from Microsoft, the CEO of Microsoft, how he's putting some prompts on Excel. And in business school, back in business school, Excel was king, right? We lived and died by Excel, building different models. And he was able to build a pretty complicated and complex model just by a few prompts in Excel, right? So I was like, okay, this is something that has definitely a future where we don't need an army of people to do that. I don't need a 30-person analytics team. I can do it a very small, nimble team. And thirdly, I would say is, how do we join different disparate data models together to get the right insights? And I think it's great insights from them, right? Most people, although now this is the utopian stage, this is the future. Right now, most people I know are creating emails using Gen AI, or the base of or writing something where you need to write something on LinkedIn or something. They're using that. So, but I think as we mature, as LLM models become more mature in our prompts, I mean, it's garbage in, garbage out. The better prompts you give in, the better access to data it has, and it can generate more. I think you will see it evolve, and I think it will make us smarter. Honestly, I'm a big believer in that. Although it is a buzzword like people are using, but I think we have just scratched the surface, and I think I'm optimistic about the future and how my team can employ that or deploy that.
Good to hear, Omar. Content was certainly one of the areas that we were starting to look at on the CPG guys in terms of AI. But we kind of knew that when we asked you to come back on the show, we get a masterclass on the state of e-commerce overall in 2024, and that's what we got. Let me remind our audience, you can find all of our content simply by going to a web browser and typing cpgguys.com as the URL. And if you think you or your company has thought leadership to contribute to a community discussion, please do drop us an email at contact@cpgguys.com. Maybe you could join us on the podcast like Omar did. Don't forget to drop us a rating at cpgguys.com on the navigation bar at top. It tells us how we're doing and we're having the right conversations with the right people. To our LinkedIn followers, we can't say thank you enough times. Thank you for the clicks, likes, DMs, following us, listening to our podcast, downloading our podcast, showing up at events, being in the industry with us, meeting us at conferences, and actually recording with us while on the road as well. Omar, I can't thank you enough for doing this right during the holidays. And you're always welcome back on the show.
Thank you so much, Sri. Thank you so much for CPG Guys and your whole audience. And happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays to everybody and to you too, Omar. And that's the wrap of this episode of the CPG Guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.